what's up, you guys? Hey, it's Kevin Schmidt, physical therapist, bike fitter out here in beautiful Portland, Oregon. Happy New Year to you guys. It's actually my first video of 2026. We've been so busy, just hard to get the time. So I've got a couple minutes today. I had someone reach out with a very interesting question, which has kind of nothing to do with generally aches and pains, but it basically kind of asked me about kind of how I got into bike fitting, how I kind of got into this whole specialized bike PT realm. And so I'll try to make this quick and efficient, but it's kind of a fun story that some of you guys might give you kind of some perspective, or perhaps if you're a physical therapist and you're looking to kind of veer into a niche service, or perhaps a bike PT or cycling specialty. So I guess I'll kind of start from the beginning. So my father was a huge cyclist. I grew up in a town called Battle Creek, Michigan. My father was a huge cyclist back in Michigan. And what that means is basically every birthday present, every Christmas, every holiday, Dad would get cycling related things. So I kind of grew up in a cycling household. However, maybe because of that, a lot of times you don't want to do what your dad does. I kind of stayed away from cycling, but I was always very much exposed to cycling when I was in Michigan. And definitely I rode, but really wasn't a passion of mine. It was definitely kind of something that really defined him. After moving to Portland in 2002, from about 2002 to 2005, I kind of worked my way up, kind of up the ranks, and was very career motivated. And within my first 5 years of being a PT, eventually I kind of found a practice where I was running 5 PT clinics, and one actually in another city outside of Portland as well. The trouble is that I was in a car every day. I was driving to all the different clinics. Sometimes I'd be spending somewhere between 2 to 3 hours on the road, which made me very frustrated, very road ragey. I was also working in work comp, which is also a very difficult, kind of challenging caseload. So it was a high stress, lot of patients that were not very grateful. Just wasn't treating the people that I wanted to. And so at that time, my son was about ready to be born, and I kind of found myself getting very frustrated, very angry. I'd come home very angry, very road rage. And so my wife and I decided that, although I was making a ton of money, I just wasn't happy. I felt burned out, that I wasn't able to kind of do what I wanted to do, and honestly didn't even know if I wanted to be a PT anymore. And so fast forward, I found a job and basically quit that job and took a job roughly about 2.5 miles from my house as a staff PT, and decided I was gonna not drive a car anymore. I was just gonna kind of start riding the bike. This is 2007, mind you. So started riding a bike. My dad and I got together, we got a bike, started riding every day. And that was huge. That basically transformed my life. I felt much healthier. I was much more attentive to patients. If you had a rough day, you could always ride home and kind of work some energy out. So I loved all those aspects of cycling, being out in the weather, being out in nature, just felt great. The trouble is that I was starting to get neck pain on the bike, kind of in my lower neck area. And again, I was only riding 2.5 miles to work, so I was a bit perplexed. And as a PT who was treating patients with neck pain all day long, I started getting frustrated. And I started to realize, maybe I should talk to somebody about my positioning on the bike. And at that time, I didn't even know what bike fitting was. I kind of understood that a lot of people that do century rides or long distance rides, that those guys go and get bike fit. I don't know if I really need a bike fit because I'm only riding 2.5 miles, but my neck was slowly but surely getting worse and worse. And so normally what you did back then in 2007, 2008, you go to a bike shop, and no offense to bike shops whatsoever, but went to the bike shop, and of course they told me that I needed to raise my handlebars. So I said, okay, great, sounds good, that makes sense, I'll be much more upright. The trouble was after they raised my handlebars, my neck pain actually worsened, which was very surprising to me. It all kind of made sense to me, but again, I didn't really know about bike fitting kind of concepts and all that sort of thing related to cycling. So I went back to the bike shop after about, a couple, 3 weeks, said, my neck pain's really not getting any better. And they said, well, we actually need to raise your bars even higher. And I said, well, okay. So they put a stem extender on my handlebars to raise my bars even higher. And as I'm sitting there, I'm kind of rubbing my neck. And as I always say, this is kind of my light bulb moment. As I'm sitting there rubbing my neck, just thinking out loud, saying, what's going on with my neck? What is going on? And the bike shop guy, sweet guy, super nice guy, is wrenching on the bike, and he stops what he does, looks over me and says, and I'll never forget this, he says, how the hell should I know what's going on with your neck? I'm not a physical therapist. And all of a sudden that kind of triggered that in my mind, because ultimately I said to him, well, I'm a physical therapist. I guess you don't know much about the body or about pain or what causes pain. You know a lot about biking and how to put bikes together and things. So maybe I just need to learn about cycling and learn about bikes, because I learn a lot about ergonomics and this and that nature, but you get no education in medical school or PT school about bicycling or the position on a bike. It's very unique. There's different variations. So I took a course, and within a year or two, I became Portland's very first certified bike PT person back in 2007 that'd probably be 2008, 2009 or so, and was able to remedy my own problem. The secret to that is that my father, who was a huge cyclist, we went out and got a bike, and my bike was too small for me. And so when a frame is too small for you, it compresses you and doesn't allow your chest to lift and get your head over your shoulders. So ultimately, a person who knew everything about cycling that I thought they didn't understand obviously about my bike fit or bike sizing. So once I started to learn about that, I was able to correct that and actually lengthen my cockpit. As opposed to raising my bars, bringing myself closer, I would actually stretch myself out, and that actually remedied my symptoms. I moved forward, got another bike, started to grow this whole bike fitting practice, because all of a sudden these new skills I learned, everybody at the clinic I was working at, I was just a staff PT, but the other PTs that were there oftentimes would say, hey, will you look at my bike fit, or will you look at a client's bike fit? You know, it's Portland, so we see a lot of cyclists. And how I didn't realize that there was a kind of a bike specialty kind of niche that was just waiting to hatch here in Portland back in 2008, 2009. But slowly but surely, I started really picking up steam, started seeing a lot of bikes and a lot of bike fitting. And I was really starting to get excited about that. Started thinking about possibly opening my own practice for that. So kind of went through a few years of that. Sadly, kind of my turning point was that my father passed away suddenly in 2010 from cancer. If you've ever lost a parent before, you know how that can kind of affect you, kind of change kind of risk tolerances, et cetera, et cetera. So one thing led to another. I lost my father, and from that was kind of the impetus or kind of the, as I say, the kick in the ass to kind of like, hey, you know how to run clinics. This bike thing is really taking off. You got to take risks. You got to go for things. That's what life's all about, is taking risks and trying things. And if you fail, so what? You'd feel worse if you never tried. So we opened up Pedal PT in 2012, and we're going strong since then. We've continued to grow. So the practice is doing great. But that's kind of my trajectory. I never started out as a racer or a sponsored rider or any of that. I think a lot of bike fitters kind of come from this race mentality, where I kind of came from more of the commuting basis or kind of the daily rider perspective. And that gave me kind of a whole nother kind of perspective on other riders that maybe all bikers need a bike fit, not just your elite level race people, maybe people that are just, old grandmas that want to ride their bike to the farmer's market, and so on and so forth. So I started to kind of grow this practice and really helping all cyclists, or as I said, bring bike fit to the people. And as soon as I started doing that, things just kind of exploded. And not only do we see elite level folks, but we also see people with brand new bikes, people that are new to cycling. We want to make cycling applicable to everyone. And so that's kind of my background, how I got into this. I kind of came in from the backside of the thing. But like I said, since 2008, 2009, I've probably done very close to 10,000 bike fits here. And that's not a lie at all. I think you'll see a lot of folks talking about bike fitting, saying they've done this many fits, but it's really hard. And we're also juggling a whole caseload of patients. So we're also doing patient care in addition to bike fit. We're not just a bike fit clinic. You can be a physical therapist doing bike fit, but if you're also not treating clients, you're also losing those skills on how to actually remedy or evaluate those symptoms in kind of, conjunction with the bike fit too. So I hope you found that interesting. I had a few of you guys asking me kind of how I got into this, but otherwise it's a great field. Very much a large need. I think now in town we have another one or two PTs that are also doing bike fit in town, a couple other bike fitters. So I think as we've kind of brought awareness to bike fit, that everybody deserves bike fit, all of a sudden all boats will rise. And so that's kind of my story, guys. If you do have questions about that, please drop them in the comments below. But otherwise, thought you'd appreciate that, kind of where I'm coming from. Also, if you've made it this far, congratulations to listen to me ramble on. Go ahead and click like, subscribe. We'll keep this content going. I think the last couple videos I did ago, I think we were at close to 700 subscribers. I think we're almost close to 800 subscribers now. So really appreciate you guys. So keep it up. Again, it's your questions that keep this channel going. So till next time, again, Kevin Schmidt, physical therapist, bike fitter out here in Portland, Oregon. Have a great day. Cheers.